Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Howdy y'all, Red O'Loughlin here. We're now on the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Just finished up with the Corner Bookstore, and I have another show coming up at the end of this one called Talking Heads. Today, I am literally almost done with my book, Aging Sucks. It's been an interesting journey. Finally got the movie trailer starting to be worked on. I got beta readers reading the book. Everything is really and truly working the way it's supposed to. So my July 4th publication date looks very, very safe. Today's guest is a return visitor to our studio. Maria Jane is an author, prolific author, award-winning, best-selling author, all the things you need to be as an author. So we're going to talk to her today about her entrepreneurial journey, just as we did the last time we talked about her writer's journey. So Maria, please join me up here.
Hi, Red.
Howdy, good to see you again.
Thank you. Congrats on your new release.
Oh, thank you too. You look very, very stunning today.
Thank you.
Okay, so you started writing a while back. So why don't we give a little hint of what is the writer's journey, how you got to where you are now, and I'll let you talk about that. And then we'll transition into when did you realize you really need to be a business person? Okay.
Right. So I started writing in 2008. It took me about 7 years to write my first manuscript that ended up being 160,000 words. So a huge, long scrawling manuscript. And I didn't really intend to publish it. I had a couple of friends who read it and said, you need to publish this. And I thought, okay, well, what does that look like? Fortunately, I had another friend who was a self-published author as well as an editor, and she took me on as a client. And that first manuscript became my first 2 books. The book was a fictionalized account of my experience with anorexia, so kind of a women's fiction book, inspirational genre, I guess. But very quickly, I realized that I needed help because this editing cost a lot of money. I did try to query an agent, but I wasn't very patient about that. I did get a couple of nibbles from Harlequin and a couple of other publishers, but they all wanted it wrapped up in one book. And I just didn't think I could tell my story in one book the way I wanted to tell it. So at that point, I decided to indie publish. And that's when, for better or worse, editors deserve all that they get paid, but it is expensive. And you talk about transitioning to that business model rather than just I'm an artist, I'm creating. It was very evident very early on that this cost a lot of money to do, and I didn't want to drain my personal finances. I wanted to at least break even if this was a passion project. So I formed an LLC and started learning everything I could about book promotion, marketing, branding, selling strategy, release strategy, all the components that you to set you up for success in the book world.
Okay, so you about your 3rd or 4th book that you finally decided that you needed more education or awareness, at least, of the business world?
No, it was even before I published my book that I had that awareness of, I'm spending this huge thousands of dollars to have my book edited, have it proofread, have the cover professionally done, I built my own website, so that was just my time. I had a logo designed, and so all of those things took money. And I really knew that I wanted to at least break even though, like I said, this was a bit of a passion project in the beginning. And I didn't want to drain those resources. I wasn't a business major. Hadn't ever started or run a business at that point. And so that all of those things that you need to do in it. And I hadn't done any marketing or any book selling or anything like that. So I was starting from ground zero and just started learning online and taking courses.
Okay. Okay. So you got the wide opening call with the fact that I'm spending money, but I'm not getting money coming in to replace it. And
Right.
I think that's so common for our first books that, we want everything to be perfect. We want our story out there. We want all this, another $100 here, another $500 there, another $200 there. And before you know it, it's real money. And you start seeing your sales and they're just not quite what you expect. And what can I do to, so you're sitting there and you have a conundrum of things. And so now you're wearing your entrepreneur hat. Your book is sitting there next to you. You're marketing it yourself. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. So you're marketing it yourself on social media or whatever. And then you need business acumen, that expertise. So did you go to friends? You mentioned learning things, but what was the most valuable resource that you had to start with when you're saying, I got to make some money?
Probably. So the people I worked with for my editing and formatting was Indie Books Gone Wild. And Jo Michaels was a really good resource. She'd been in the author business for several years when I entered, I think 5 to 10. And so she was really good about saying, yes, this is a good place to spend your money. No, this isn't a good place to spend your money. Research, if you're going to run a promotion through someone else, research that promotion. Is it legit? There's a lot of non-legit sites out there that say, we will promote you. We will promote you. So just being really business or aware, business savvy about who you're partnering with, how they can promote you, if they will legitimately promote you once you give them your money. What are good places to be in the book business? You want to have a profile on Goodreads. You want to have a profile on BookBub. Now TikTok is really strong, but that changes. It flows between Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You want to have a website so that somebody can go and just find you on the web, and having all of those things increases your Google presence, or I shouldn't say just Google, but search engine presence, so someone can find you and see that, hi, this is a legitimate author. This person is presenting themselves professionally, and it looks like a professionally done book. So I'm going to take a chance and read their book. And then also learning about kind of the indie author communities and what opportunities there are to go to conferences, book shows, book signings, festivals, all those things that get you in front of people in meaningful ways.
What part of the country are you in?
I'm in Denver now.
Okay. So the opportunity to have book fairs, bookstore signings, those things, that's a fairly decent market there in the Denver area.
It is, yes. I feel like the biggest thing in getting in bookstores for me has been having a publicist. I've had a publicist for the past 2 years, and they have been able to connect me probably in places that I couldn't connect myself. If I tried to contact Barnes and Noble, for instance, even at the 2 miles from my house, I didn't get a reply until my publicist sent them me email, and then they replied to him. So I think having a publicist opens doors as well.
Your publicist is Mickey Mickelson with Creative Edge, is that right?
Yes, he is amazing. And I did one book signing last year at Barnes and Noble. I'll do a Sugar and Spice book signing next week in Boulder, Colorado. And then I'll have 2 book signings at Barnes and Noble in July and August in Colorado Springs.
Okay. So it sounds like a pretty easy area to, if you know the right people, which is Mickey in this case, uh,
Right.
to get the door open there for you. So that's always, when you don't have a professional there to help you, it's sometimes a little more difficult. I know I've tried here at my local Barnes and Noble, just walking in the door and talking to somebody, and oh, we're all excited, and I never hear anything back. So it's interesting. You mentioned profiles a moment ago, and I recently went to AI and said I need to update my profiles, and so I got a much better profile with AI than I did creating something way back when. So uh, when you create your profiles, do you update them at any periodic time? Do you have that on the calendar, update profiles, or?
Yes, I do. I do them probably every year. It seems like when the year turns over, that's sort of a natural thing for me to do, just to like make sure it's still updated with all my recent content, made sure it's still looking fresh and new and like on brand. It was kind of hard for me to create my brand because I did genre hop a little bit. My first series was that women's fiction series, and then I jumped into writing YA fantasy. And it was hard for me to figure out how to brand myself. Like, did I brand myself as this women's fiction author, or did I brand myself as this fantasy author? And I read a really good book. It's called Be the Gateway by Dan Miller for creative people. And it's all about branding yourself and how to meaningfully connect with an audience when you're a creative person. So it takes you through what are the most important parts of your brand, what are the most important messages that you want to bring to your audiences, and helps you create like those phrases. So what I came to for me was that my catchphrase or my brand phrase is finding the magic. And that's not just like magic, which is magic. It's also finding the magic within yourself. So that tied together all the different genres that I wrote in. And that was really helpful and helped me kind of just pinpoint or focus on how I marketed myself as a creative person.
Okay, Dan Miller, I think he's done some other story books, if I remember right. I think
I
just
think so, yeah.
at the very beginning, I don't know if he still lives down south of Houston or not. I know when COVID first hit, literally the first month or two, he was in town. They had an impromptu thing at one of the local hotels, and I was there and was very fortunate to get to watch him live and talk and stuff. Really dynamic person, a lot of good information. So you have stories that in your book, they may be fiction, but the stories are integral to our business anyway. And so the story may be, well, again, you told the story already about you went to Barnes and Noble, no luck. Mickey knocks on the door, luck. That's a story. But these are the things that we tell the people, our success stories, and sometimes our failure stories too. So from a business entrepreneur, what has been your best lesson learned with regard to being an author business person?
Partnering with good people. That was my biggest learning. And I guess part of that story is when I started to think about doing audiobooks, I went on ACX. Most people know that's the Amazon audiobook platform. And I said, okay, I'm going to find an audiobook person. And I put my story out there, and I got several bites. And the first person wanted me to give them extra money, which ACX explicitly says, do not give them extra money, right? So I said, okay, well, you're not the person for me. The second person ended up getting sick and not being able to speak for 6 months or something like that. So I had to cancel that contract. And then I said, okay, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait and not do an audiobook yet, because it was definitely too expensive for me to afford an audiobook. It's $3,000 to $5,000 to get like a decent length novel recorded. So I went to a book conference. It was in St. Louis. Can't remember the name of that one. But anyway, I was just there sharing my books with people, and a narrator walked by and gave me her card. And I said, oh, wait, come back. Talk to me. You're a real live person. And so I talked to her for a few minutes, and then I followed up with her afterwards. I did some research to make sure she'd done other books and how successful they were. I listened to some of her content, and then I had her read my chapter for me. And so I was able to partner with her, and that ended up being a great relationship. She narrated my first 2 books, and then I needed a male narrator, and she was able to connect me with male narrators. So I guess the moral of the story is like making sure you're working with quality people that will deliver what they say they deliver in a professional manner, and making sure you know who you're working with. Like you, I probably get 20 emails a day that are AI generated that don't even have my full real name or correct titles of my books, and they look very convincing, but it's just vetting them and making sure you know who you're working with so that everything in your brand is representing the quality you want it to represent.
I know when I listen to some audiobooks, I'm amazed at the ability of some of the narrators with their voice. They may be able to do 5 or 6 different French accents or Russian accents or whatever. And they're so consistent in what they do, not only with the accent, but with the inflections of the character and stuff. So as you say, you find somebody who's really, really good, stick with them, because that's the thing that when you're listening to a book, you're really encaptured. I mean, I'm driving down the road listening to an audiobook, and I am 5 car lengths ahead, behind somebody, got cruise control on, and I'm just kind of keeping a scan going, but I'm just emotionally invested in whatever I'm hearing at the time, but trying to stay safe at the same time. So the ability to just not read something, but to actually act the part of that person in the book is really and truly an amazing talent.
It is. And I learned so much about voice actors, and the male narrator came back to me and said, "Do you want it to sound like Keanu Reeves?" Or and I was like, "Oh, I can choose." So that was a learning curve for me, but very beneficial.
Have you considered putting any of your books in a foreign language?
I haven't done that yet. That's probably one of my next goals as far as getting more coverage worldwide.
Okay. USA Global TV and Radio Network goes to over 60 countries, so you're getting a lot of worldwide coverage here today.
Thank you.
Okay, so you talked about your brand. What was the business decision where you finally said, okay, I have to have a brand and I need to be consistent? Let's talk about that for a moment.
Right. I met a group online, and I don't even remember how I met them now, but we started, like, there were 3 of us authors that ended up in this little cohort, and we started reading that Be the Gateway by Dan Miller. And we read it together. We would read a chapter and then talk about it. And then he gives you some things to, like, some homework things to do. So we would bring those back to the group and say, "Hey, what do you think?" And so that was at that pivotal point where I decided I got a new logo that represented both sort of my romance vibe and my fantasy vibe. And I created that catchphrase that was the Finding the Magic catchphrase. So those were, by that point, I was feeling like I was knew what I was doing enough. I knew how to do a book launch. I knew, the parts that I wanted to do for a book launch. I knew how I had my editors and my proofreaders and my cover person, and I had all the pieces at that point, I felt like. So then it was just like, okay, how do I amplify this? And I think that changes a lot over time, and just staying with, and trying to create new content for the next new platform like TikTok, and being comfortable being in front of a camera, which it seems to be important for on TikTok. And all of those things have been a progression for me because I'm very introverted. So it's not my nature to, like, put myself out there, and that being comfortable with that, I think it's a big part of putting yourself out there into the world too.
Okay, Maria, we're getting ready to go to a commercial break here in about 10 seconds or so. And when we come back, I'd like to talk about using video as part of your marketing and AI in general with regard to either the book writing or the business part of your business. So we'll be back in a very brief moment, about a minute and a half.
Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio, for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Brett O'Loughlin here. We're on the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My guest today is Maria Jane. Maria, please join me back up here on stage.
Hi, Red.
Howdy. Okay, video marketing seems to be a very big thing nowadays with Instagram and Reels and this and that and TikTok, and heaven only knows how many others are going to be coming along. When did you start, or have you started any kind of video marketing for your books, your products, and how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, at first I just started making video trailers where I wasn't in them. Like I would have graphics and then use my book blurbs for my back cover and have different graphics and scroll those through and make the words move across the screen and then add music to them. So I've done book trailers for all my books since the beginning. I'm not a huge techie person, but I can get there enough, especially with Canva and all the new tools now. So that's fun for me. I mean, I think part of being an indie business owner is that you discover what you like and what you don't like, and then you parse out, you know, what I don't like doing or what would drive me crazy is formatting my book, for instance. So I pay someone to format my book, but when it comes to all my graphics, my video content, I create all that myself because I like doing it. And so, you know, that's part of the decision making when you have a solo business of any kind, probably. But where a lot of my video content right now comes from is that I host a podcast and I use Opus Clips, but I think there are many other platforms for doing this, but you just upload your video and it shoots out 20 or 25 little 1 to 2 minute clips of meaningful content that I can just schedule out in TikTok or wherever I'm posting them. So that's been really helpful for me. I know I could use AI a lot more than I do. Like you said, Reddit created a whole like website platform for you or social media platform for you. And that would probably increase my productivity a lot if I just said, hey, AI, do this for me. But I tend to be one of those just self-starter, do-it-yourself people. So like I said, I created my website and I continually update that. And that's fun for me. But if it's not fun for you, then I think, you know, having those extra people who can help you do those things is key.
Okay, and you use AI at all, or do you have a particular one you prefer?
I don't use AI. I mean, like if I do a Google search for something, it has my AI answer for research. And obviously you need to check if you're quoting people or things like that, you need to check that the source is correct. But like I said, I use that AI tool to do the video clips, which is easy and fun, and then creates a lot more content from just that 1 hour recording that you recorded. So, but otherwise, I don't use AI that much. I probably should because it might increase my productivity a lot.
Yeah, it takes me about 10 minutes to create a video based on, you need a 35-second video clip, I'll tell ChatGPT, here's the basics, give me that. I take it, proof it, make tweaks, whatever I need. I use what's called hypernatural AI, fairly intuitive, and I'll dump that in there and say boom, and then 10 minutes later I'm posting it on Facebook.
Wow.
It is literally that fast and that decent. It has the same thing. You have the image, you have the music, you have the scroll across the bottom, and the voiceover, and then you get choices of people from, again, it's a free version. You have choices of people there, but just, for what it's worth. You mentioned earlier in the first half that you got your LLC. When did you decide that you wanted to incorporate and become an LLC as opposed to just staying an author?
Very early on, because I guess I was aware of tax implications and the fact that my taxes would look different, and then I could take losses in my business, which at the beginning I had a lot of losses and I wasn't in the red for a couple of years. So I wanted to be able to, I'm not a tax person, I give someone my taxes to do, but I knew at least enough to know that I should have an LLC. And so I have my, it's True Bird Publishing, but so I have that LLC that I pay all my bills out of, and then I get all my profits into. So that's separate from my personal accounts.
Okay.
Like the wisest thing to do.
How do you track your sales and decide maybe it's time to change a cover or to do some more marketing or whatever?
I usually look at what other people are doing in the genre. So my first series launched in 2015, and the fourth book was done by 2017. It was 2017. So it was only 2 years. I released 4 books. And so, fast forward 10 years and book covers don't look the same at all. And so I did have the book covers redone. And so I think it's just watching the market, seeing how you can make your books look fresh again and timely, I guess timely is the word I want to say for those new readers.
I went to a local book club here, and one of the authors is a very, very well-known romance writer. And she's talking about how she spends an hour or more every day because of the number of books she has, being able to track and see, what kind of sales are there and where things might, be tweaked a little bit better. But she says, she ignored that all at the beginning. And once she started focusing on, what is working, what isn't working, and why isn't it working, and she says it just changed her life because she just went from, this much to that much. And it's just, she says, yeah, it's a pain in the butt. It really and truly is. I don't want to do it, but I'm making so much money, I can't afford not to do it. And so okay, so some of those things we do because we don't want to do it, but you got to do it. Anyway, so let's move on here. You have book covers and you've updated them. So do you go back to the same designer, or are you doing these on Canva yourself? How are you handling an updated cover?
Yes, so I have a local cover artist or graphics artist that has done many of my series. I guess my first series, my Being Me series, and then my Perfect Romance series. I did use different cover artists for my fantasy series just because I was attracted to a lot of the cover people will put up what they call stock covers or something. I don't remember what they're calling them, but they're pre-made covers. And so I was attracted to a couple pre-made covers and then bought the pre-made for the first book and then used that same cover artist for the rest of the book in the series, just so they all matched and complemented each other. So covers are important. The back blurb is important. I did take, I bought a couple of back blurbs from a blurb company, and I can't remember the name of the company, but they would, I don't know if they read the whole book, but I had to give like a really detailed summary of the book, the genre, the characters, all those things, and the major plot points of the story. And then they created great book blurbs for me. And then what I started doing from there is like noticing reading other book blurbs and noticing the formula for how to write the back cover blurb. So I think that can be really important. Obviously, the first thing people see are your covers. The next thing they see is your book blurb. So having that really enticing and engaging and drawing people in, and then having sales that you can draw people in. So if you hit like in the top 100 on Amazon on one day, whether you use a 99-cent sale or a free book sale through Amazon, those can really build your audience. I did use at one point a coaching system, I guess it was, for how to email market, not really email market, but gain those email subscribers. So if you think about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of those, you don't own the content on there. And if one of those goes away, like TikTok did, then you don't have any way to reach all those people who you might be able to reach. So I worked, and I still work hard on building my email list so that I'm getting right in front of those, hopefully, readers that love my books and will buy the next book or buy something on my backlist if they haven't read it. So that's one thing that's really important to me. And that's how I connect with a lot of my readers, is through my email list. And I even poll my list, and those readers I ask them to tell me, hey, I have a new character. What is their name? What do they like to do? And that's really fun to integrate some of those components from my readers into my books and just have that relationship with them. Because I think, if you think about the sales process, you have maybe 1 million people who might see your book, and maybe 100 people who buy it out of 1 million, and hopefully 10 of those are your forever fans. But moving them through that, I guess they call it a sales cycle of, okay, they know who you are. Okay, they bought your book. Okay, they like your book. Okay, they reviewed your book. Now they're a super fan, right? And they're going to buy your next book. So and building those connections with those readers.
Okay, so when you have a staff meeting with yourself and you say, how far out in the future do you plan for new book releases or new series or even a new genre? What kind of planning cycles go through your brain as the guru of your business? I need another one in this series, or I'm going to close that series out. Tell us about how that mental gymnastics works.
Right. Well, I have a document that's a checklist for myself that I've created over the years from various ideas, people, places, and just my own little secret sauce. But I already know that next June, I'm going to release my next romance novel. So I have my editor scheduled for October. I know it'll be finished by December. And, so I make sure and plan out my cover person, my editor person, my proofreader persons. I will have a beta reader, or hopefully a couple of beta readers. And then at the tail end, I'll have some ARC readers while I'm in that editing process. So, and I guess this beta versus ARC. And then I'll start, call out to my newsletter list, who wants to be an advanced copy reader or advanced reader copy. ARC anyway. And so I put that out to my newsletter list, and I get that list of people. It's usually about 20 people who say, oh yeah, I want to read. So, and, keeping in contact with those people. What are you thinking? How are you doing? And so I can have those reviews on release day, hopefully. And then and my publicist is who does this, getting the book in front of people in the industry before it releases, hopefully to get those editorial reviews. So yeah, and getting it up on Goodreads, getting it on my website, putting it up for pre-order, making sure the prices are set and all the files uploaded. Yes, I have a whole timeline. And like I said, I already have planned next June comes around, a new book will come out. So I'm a big planner, and I like my little checklist.
Okay, SEO has advanced a lot over the years. We're now into GEO and AEO, and are those things that you work into your planning schedule with your books currently marketing and what you will be doing?
That is one of my weaker spots. I mean, you said SEO, and I know what that is, but you said the other two acronyms. I don't know what those are. So I go into my website, I optimize it where they tell me to optimize it. I put in my keywords. I blog. So I put in keywords and I'll do all the blog things when I blog. And I post things on social media, but I don't have the bandwidth to pay attention to, okay, what is my Google rating? How to increase that over what I just told you. So I think, it would take someone behind me in the background looking at my website and saying, okay, we need to tweak this a little bit.
Yeah. That's where AI comes in very, very nicely, because you can give them something and say, how can I improve the AEO on this? Or how can I improve the GEO on it? And so maybe in the, young adult fantasy and dystopian sci-fi and romance, it may not necessarily be as critical as in my area of nonfiction, where I'm telling people how to do something, why things work, and having the citations and the questions and things. So maybe a little bit different world. It's not something I really know a whole lot about, because almost everything I've done has been in the nonfiction world. So awareness is probably the first thing. And again,
I'm going to look those up afterwards.
Because AI is going to, tell you, here's my paragraph. Is it even needed? I don't know. And it may not be. That's a good question just to ask right off the bat. Now, I'm a romance writer. Do I need to worry about anything more than SEO? It's a question. Okay. I think that's all I need right now. We're getting close to the time where we're going to shut the show down. So this is the time I'm going to say, Maria, how do people get their books? How do they get in touch with you? Do you have any shows coming up that you're going to be doing signings at or anything?
Right. Like I said, so I will be at Sugar and Spice in Boulder, Colorado on July 20th from 1 to 3 p.m. with signing my Perfect Romance books, which you see there on my website at triciacopeland.com or mariajaneromance.com.
Okay, your June 2nd book coming out, that came out, or that's the one we're talking about, the Perfect Romance? I think it was on your Perfect Secrets.
Perfect Secrets, right? It came out on June 2nd.
Okay, so, and then you have another book coming out next June 2027.
Right.
Okay, so, and people will reach you at mariajaneromance.com. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, for our audio audience, they'll be joining us later on this afternoon. Maria, just like it's spelled, Maria, Jane, Jane, romance, exactly the way it's spelled, .com, mariajaneromance.com. And Maria, is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we get ready to wrap up the show today? Some question I didn't ask you that you're just dying to tell the world?
Thank you for having me, Red. I think, there's so many ways to come into this journey, and probably just as many ways to navigate starting your own indie publishing business. So I feel like I keep learning too.
Okay. Well, I really and truly enjoyed our conversation today, and I truly look forward to our next one, to find out how well Perfect Secrets is doing as far as your latest book, and I wish you absolute best.
Thank you so much, Red. You as well.
I take care. We'll catch you later. Okay, we're wrapping up the Wise Ones today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My guest today was Maria Jane. She's been with us before, writer, award-winning author, young adult fantasy and stuff. Before I forget at the beginning of the show, but before I forget right now, if you're watching the show on YouTube and you're not a subscriber to the USA Global TV and Radio Network, please seriously consider being a subscriber. You can subscribe on both the USA Global TV. You should subscribe on both the USA Global TV and Radio Network and on the Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck Network. So chapters are on the YouTube. Wrapping up today's show, the next show coming out is my Talking Heads, and today my topic is, what if aging is more predictable than we think? My book, Aging Sucks, is coming out, and there's a lot of things with regard to the process of aging. It's not a simple single process that you do one thing and it fixes it. There are just a lot of multiple things going on at one time, and you really need to address a wide variety of things. And when you do that, then the aging cycle does actually become a lot more predictable, because these are the things you're doing every day that will either create damage or enhance repair. And those are the two most important things going on in your body, is to take care of those. So I will catch you all next week, and you may join me here in another 24 minutes on Talking Heads. Take care, y'all. Bye now.
People are searching for experts every day. Are they finding you, or are they finding someone else? Every day, professionals are building authority through media. We've already built the platform. USA Global TV and Radio. Over 14,000 shows streamed to over 60 countries. This isn't about becoming famous. It's about leverage, visibility, credibility, opportunity. One interview, one conversation, one show, repurposed into content, connection, and business growth. Most people assume hosting a TV show requires a studio, a production team, and a massive budget. Our television packages begin at $1,500 US per month. Professional production, global distribution, replay visibility, built for voices with something to say. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and if this resonates with you, we should talk. USA Global TV and Radio, all rights reserved. Contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.